All right, so the next short video is going to be about my own philosophy professor. And I went into philosophy because of this professor. He changed my life. So I was floundering a lot when I went to college. It was the 1960s and all these demonstrations on campus. And I was against the war, and I knew how much money, greed was driving the war. And my freshman year, Nixon bombed Cambodia. So we have students from Cambodia and Vietnam. That's why I feel so honored after all these years to be able to give back something to those people that we harmed so badly. And the people driving that war were making a lot of money off of it. And they were into power. I mean, I've read a lot about that. So the person who started it, Robert McNamara, has written a book, and he put out a documentary saying we were wrong. So I apologize for that, but I'm so glad I can teach some students from there. Anyway, I just could not. That school had a lot of smart people, but they weren't profound people. They weren't wise, and they were shallow, a lot of them. And so I was very disappointed, and I quit school. And none of you are going to do that. Okay. I just want you to know that when some days you get up and you say, I'm really not sure of where I'm going in life, I don't know. I'll tell you, I had a terrible case of this. So I can identify with that. But I just kept going, and I kept getting good grades. Don't cripple yourself. But I actually quit school. I wasn't going to go back. And my father, he didn't like to tell his kids what to do, but he just sort of nudged me back. And then I took a philosophy of art class because my mother was an art history teacher. I don't know why I kept taking philosophy. I took philosophy at the first school, and I sold all my books because the teacher told me the books were worthless. He analyzed them to death. But I liked art, so I took philosophy of art. Well, after 3 weeks, I knew this is what I want. This is what I was looking for. And the book I read said, it was from Longinus. Nobody reads these things, they're out of print. But he's talking about great art and great speeches, great literature. And he says, what is it that those poets saw that motivated them to break all the rules just so they could express what was on their mind? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's what I've been asking. My mother took us to Europe when I was 8 years old. And I remember starting to think, well, what makes great art great, right? What is great? What is this? So I did start thinking about things like that at a pretty young age. And so this teacher defended everyone that we read. And if I disagreed with them, I had to create an argument. And my teacher was really good at listening, and he was so good at asking questions. And I'm not nearly as good a teacher as he was. But he's been my friend. He was my friend until he died a few years ago. And that's why I went into philosophy. Obviously, I thought, if I could get a degree in this, that would be so amazing. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know, but if I am, and if I can, and that's what I do, right? What makes Greek culture great? What is the legacy they've passed on that's still so valuable? So that was just luck, I guess. Um, but this is something he wrote about being a teacher. And he was a preacher's kid. I was a preacher's kid. And so it's called A Decalogue for a Pedagogue. And so I don't know how many of you know Decalogue was the 10 Commandments, was called the Decalogue. So he has basically 10 commandments for a pedagogue, which is a teacher. Okay. Thou shalt have several other gods before thee. God, for instance. Thou shalt always remember that thou art just a teacher, merely an occasion, not the substance of another's mind. Thou shalt teach, not play politics, neither academic, nor administrative, nor national, I would add. Thou shalt teach all of thy students, not just the best, the worst, nor the rest. Thou shalt be objective, even though they all say it is impossible. Thou shalt be honest, even though one must admit to all one's errors. For thou art too old to be infallible, and too tired to be a chameleon. Thou shalt serve the needs of thy students, not their wants. Thou shalt create a devotion to thy science, not to thyself. Thou shalt deepen the faith of thy students, whatever it may be. Thou shalt be cheerful, for misanthropy and misology are truth's natural enemies. So, a number of these quotes refer to God or faith. Actually, in my mind, the notion of the Greeks is spiritual humanism. So every one of those deities represents something we live greater than ourselves, that we dedicate ourselves to, like justice, truth, beauty. And so spiritual humanism, some people can call it secular humanism. They can call it ancient humanism. They don't have to have any god or goddess or deities, but it's very generic in my mind. I remember when I was 8 years old, I told my little sister, my mother wrote this down. I said to her, I don't think God is a person. I started thinking of God as energy. And so over time, because of the way patriarchy has influenced me, I try to think of it as goddess. I try to envision a goddess just because of the energy. It's really about energy. And so I can call it goddess, but mostly people, the name doesn't matter. It's the energy that matters. Being able to be passionate about all sorts of good things and balance them and flourish in an overall life. So I don't want, some of you would be completely turned off by any language related to deities. I had a student at AUW last year, and she came up to me after class. Because we had one of Plato's dialogues about a religious leader who was a fundamentalist, and he was very black and white thinker, which is very undemocratic. He was part of the problem, and Athens lost its democracy because of people like him. But anyway, she said, I hate clerics. And it turns out she was demonstrating in Afghanistan against the Taliban and those extremist Muslims. Or I don't know if Muslim people want to call them Muslims. They're just extremists, religious extremists. And she had been in a demonstration where 80 some people died, and she had actually gotten shrapnel in her stomach. And her doctor told her he didn't know how she survived it. So I have other students who are abused by fathers who are preachers. And of course, they become Wicca or something. So the associations that children get with that word are scary. So I have no stake in people using the word God or goddess or faith or secular or atheist or humanist. It's just staying in touch with the universe. To me, it's sustainability, right? Knowing that the universe is out there and we need to be integrated with it. We need to balance our lives and not to just attack it and try to control it all the time. So that is my tribute to my teacher. And I hope, that each of you finds a teacher in relationship to your discipline. I know at Lyon, almost every student, by the time they graduate, there's at least one teacher who's like a mentor. And I don't have anything at stake in terms of wanting to be a popular mentor. I'm not a popular teacher. There's always a few students that like me, and that just makes me happy because I'm not a normal type of person. I'm way out there on the scale, and so I don't expect students to resonate with me. I'm perfectly happy if they do, but what I care about is each of them finds their own path in life, and they come away from college wiser, but mostly committed to loving wisdom at a deeper level than when at a level they never imagined they would get to because they didn't know about it before they came to college. So one thing about philosophy is that there aren't very many students who are aware that they're thinking philosophically, or even who are thinking in that reflective consciousness kind of way. And then college is this time where you really become a lot more aware of it, or it starts to kick in, which is why I like teaching undergraduates.